It's time for trouble because the villains are double. Tired of being foiled, Emperor Palpatine sends two bad guys to hunt down the Spectres. It's Grand Admiral Thrawn and the Grand Inquisitor, with grand ambitions to bring in Kanan Jarrus, Hera Syndulla, and the rest of their crew. Can the Empire finally capture them, or will the Spectres slip through their fingers? And we are back with another Bomb Bad Battle Report. Hello everybody, and welcome. We've got a really nice thematic matchup here for you. Very reminiscent of the Rebels TV show, where we've got a full Spectre team taking on the bad guys from Rebels, Grand Inquisitor and Thrawn. There isn't too much to say when it comes to the Spectre team, I don't think. I'm just smashing those two boxes together. Though I am flipping the supports. I find that people really like to condition Zeb up instead of wounding him because he's able to bounce back right away from being wounded. So Hera really helps there with her healing abilities to kind of keep him fresh and useful. And then Chopper half the time can't be shot anyways, so the extra cover from Hera doesn't help him as much. Whereas Zeb really appreciates it because then he can get, 5 dice on a ranged defense and 5 dice on a melee defense. So that's the only tweak I've done there. And then moving over to the Imperials, we've taken out Third Sister. I'm sorry, she's just really not very good. And thematically, she's not from Rebels anyway, so I feel okay about that. Swapping in the Death Trooper Escort instead, who's just really solid all around. We've kept Callus in for Thrawn's team, though I do think he works better as a rebel. I'll have some little tweaks I propose at the end of this video if you want to see maybe what a little bit more competitive version of each of these lists might look like. But I'm excited to pair Thrawn up with the Grand Inquisitor because specifically Fifth Brother getting access to a whole bunch of different moves via, Grand Inquisitor, Death Trooper, and the Thrawn Tactics cards, that's going to be really, really handy. When it comes to choosing our battle tactics with Thrawn, I am leaving out sometimes brutality serves a purpose. I don't really like the top effect there. It just gives the opponent too much agency with the dashes. And the bottom effect is fine, but we get good movement abilities with the other cards as well. So that's my thinking there. And I think this is generally the approach people have taken with Thrawn, but hey, if you want to try, sometimes brutality serves a purpose, go for it. See how it works for you. There are a couple things with the table I want to bring up as well. So this rock, the lower portion is less than height 2, meaning someone could move onto it with anything that's not a climb, and then potentially, advance to the middle, something like that. So that might come up. And then the two middle points I've set up so that they are elevated, but they are a little bit far from the ingresses. So an ingress will get you to maybe the back points, but not to the mid points, just making them a little more difficult and having that happen for our game. So Rebels are the first player, and I chose this side because it's a little less constricted. I put Hera on the left because she has a spot to kind of climb up, and I just think mobility-wise it's a bit easier. Kanan and Ezra and Chopper, they can attack that right side pretty well with their verticality. And then as far as the Empire goes, it was a lot more constricted. I ended up putting the Inquisitor team on the right to go across from Hera because I thought that especially Fifth Brother could be a little bit more difficult for them to deal with his steadfast. Now, it is going to be secure the exits for the first round, so I don't think the Shatterpoint ability is going to do too much. And to start off, the Rebels get Ezra. I usually don't love going with him early because he can be kind of squishy, but I think he's fine enough. We're kind of going to protect him. We're going to advance and then do a take cover, give him a hunker, have him kind of hiding behind those crates a little bit. And then maybe Kanan can come and give him a jump later. And right now he's getting he's probably not going to be in melee, and he's going to roll 7 dice at range. So that will help. And of course, both teams are going to take their back objectives to get started, as you would expect. So a pretty regular opening. Now, the good thing is we could get a little aggressive with Ezra, with him being upfield. Now, from the Empire side, they're starting with Thrawn. And I think that's just fine because he can take the objective right in front of him. So he's going to start with a climb, and then we're going to pay 1 to use his active ability in advance, which should get us range 2 for an extra 3 dice. And of course, because of his elevation, he will have line of sight to Ezra. Whatever happens, we will retake this objective, which is what you want to see. And that is a good roll from Thrawn. Triple crits down the tree. We're going to do 4 damage with a strain, and expose, and a shove. Now, Ezra did get a dash from his expertise. So the big question is whether or not we want to do it. It will trigger the strain and put him 1 away from death. But he's far enough away from Hera that it's going to be tough. And of course, Thrawn can use the follow-up there to get closer. So I think we are going to trigger the strain because we want to keep Ezra mobile. And we can bring him back with Hera if need be. Again, I don't want him to get killed too quickly. But I'm going to be a little bit aggressive. So he will use that dash from his expertise, get back into position. And he should be within an advance of that ingress to go attack the back point. So Thrawn flips an objective, and as I said, better to flip an objective than to take an uncontested one. So that is a big 3 points for the Empire, and I think Thrawn's in a pretty good spot. It's going to take a couple shoves to get him away there, though the Rebels get Kanan, and that's going to be pretty good for what we want to do here. Now, I'm going to get a little bit aggressive and target Ezra with Kanan's tactic ability, dashing him up so that we can attack that back objective. Of course, Ezra is a Spectre, so we're going to get to dash as well with Kanan, and he should be within a jump range of that ingress, which is going to allow him to take that back point in just a moment. Kanan does his dash from the tactic. Looking at range on Thrawn, we're not yet in range, so we're going to have to use an advance to get there, which means Kanan won't be able to climb and get onto the correct level, so we're looking for 2 shoves anyways. He does end in range 2 of Ezra, which means Ezra is going to jump, hit the ingress, and go up. So we will be flipping that objective at the end of this round, and Kanan is going to do his best to not have to spend force and hopefully just get 3 down his tree against Thrawn. Good-ish shot from Kanan. Not a great roll from Grand Inquisitor. We're going to get the 3 we need down the tree, which is 5 damage, and the double shove, knocking Thrawn kind of out of position, which is pretty good. Behind, it's not going to be easy for someone to come shoot him unless they get on top of those crates, but he is going to take some damage. Scoring 4 is pretty big for the Rebels here, not only because it keeps them from hitting the middle, but we flipped an enemy objective. But the Empire does get their Shatterpoint. And I wasn't completely in love with any of the options here with the Shatterpoint, but I was thinking I don't have necessarily tons of force because Thrawn is only bringing 2, so I want to go with it, and I chose the Grand Inquisitor. And of course he will dash himself and 5th Brother, and here is where I made a bit of a boo-boo that I didn't realize until later, because I wasn't thinking about Enfeeble on 5th Brother. I might have put him in range, I might not have. I was just thinking to kind of get him as far towards that right objective as I could for maybe a reposition. But if I had just used that Enfeeble on Ezra, then that would have killed him, and it wouldn't have been an attack, so it wouldn't have triggered Kanan, which would have been a nice little workaround. However, I didn't, unfortunately, so I'm going to come here and attack with Grand Inquisitor's lightsaber, which should almost certainly get the kill, but it is going to trigger Kanan, and we'll see how important that might be. That's a very good roll, a good roll from Ezra as well, honestly, but we're just conditioning him up. We're giving him a pin and a strain and just a crap ton of damage as well. So because we messed up and went with an attack to kill Ezra, Kanan does get to heal. He doesn't have anyone to heal, but he will jump and pop another shot into Thrawn. Though, luckily for Thrawn, he gets a really good defense roll to even out Kanan's really good attack. Only 3 damage. Thrawn's going to be left alive on 1. It would have been really nice for the Rebels to get the kill there on Thrawn, because the Empire refreshing their deck wouldn't have been super helpful. But yeah, the Empire's only flipping 1, only scoring 2. So they are really on the back foot here, unfortunately. Though the Rebels have gone with a couple power pieces. And Chopper is not great because, one, he's already in a pretty good position. He could go to the left, if we jump and then advance and take cover, and we'd score another 4 points. But he kind of needs to support Kanan and Ezra, I think, who have already gone. And if we reserve him, then he can't be shot and he can guard our back point. So pay 1 to reserve and get the Shatterpoint instead. And it's not flashy, but I think Hera might be the play here. Even though she's not going to get an attack off, we can keep the pressure on the Imperials and get someone set up. So Zeb's going to go up there with Hera's advanced tactic, squeezing everything we can out of that range 1 tool. But again, it's not going to get us to the objective as we discussed in the pregame. Now, Hera's going to spend 2 force and bring Ezra back from the dead. He's going to shed his strain and then advance and shed his pin. So that's really nice. He'll win that with his tiebreak. Her activation actions, just climb and take cover. As I said, nothing too flashy there, but we are flipping an enemy objective, so I can't be too fussed about that. Good job, Ezra, with the aggressive movement. Now, he can be shot and wounded again, which I don't love necessarily, but keeping the pressure on. The Imperials get a Thrawn card, so we get the option of dashing a whole squad, maybe ISB here. I mean, it's helpful to get them more central. Callus is not an ISB guy. I don't think that's going to do a whole heck of a lot. Fifth Brother is not going to get into contesting range with only a dash. I don't think. He looks to be maybe half a centimeter short. So we're going to go with the Reckless Gambit. We could use it to knock Ezra away from the objective and win it with Grand Inquisitor. Then we get Callus. Callus, I mean, he can just go, but he's not going to do much. Maybe he can shoot Kanan off, but we're going to spend 1, reserve him, and you know what? We're going to, well, actually, the reserve is free because we have Thrawn, so really we're spending 1 to just reposition him, because my thinking here is it gets him up onto this objective, so we're going to win that. Well, we were already going to win that, but now if we can shove Ezra away, we're going to have a better body control there at 2-0, and it frees up an activation to maybe go attack that right side objective and at least kind of get us back into the game with the Empire here. So now what do we get next? It is the Death Trooper Escort. So we are going to get to dash a full unit after all, a full supporting unit, so that will allow the ISB agents to both get upfield a little bit, which will give them maybe some options to climb on their activation if maybe they dash first. And then that right side objective is just completely vacant for the Empire, so we might as well go that way and take a shot. Zeb's set up well to maybe go and attack that, so we'll probably toss a shot into him here. We're going to start by paying 1 to dash and focus, I think, because, yeah, why not? That'll give us a little bit more flexibility on the second move, because it's longer with the advance, so we can cut the corner a bit more. Because you can walk over empty space, as we're seeing here, because you just place the unit. So that's a very strong position for the Death Trooper Escort, and it's going to be a 9 dice shot at Mr. Aurelios. Not the best, not the worst. We are going to get our double shove with 3 down the tree, 3 damage, and a disarm. So all in all, pretty good. I don't think a single shove would have gotten Zeb off of the rooftop. So the double shove helps a lot because, again, those ingresses are not optimally placed if you want to attack the middle. And he doesn't love conditions, so that is going to be a nice benefit as well because he has pretty good attack expertise, so being disarmed, he doesn't love it. The Empire is going to flip 2 objectives. I put that one down too early because I do have to do my Reckless Gambit still, but unfortunately I did kind of mess up and block the route to get Ezra away from the objective. So he's still contesting, which I don't love, and I took 3 damage on Grand Inquisitor to do that. So maybe a little bit of a boo-boo, but he is more out of position now, so that is a bit of a bonus. And now the Rebels get Hera's actual activation. We've got to go with her. She could spend a momentum, which would basically just heal up Zeb, but that doesn't really seem worth it. We're going to get really aggressive here with her tactic ability, advancing Kanan to take the ingress and basically fill in that spot where Ezra just was. So that was a big boo-boo by the Empire, because now it's 2-2. Since Ezra is still contesting, he will break the tie, and we're going to flip that objective again. Hera is going to move up, and she's going to maintain range 2 on Zeb, because she does get a lot of heals on her tree, so we could still heal him back up. Pretty good shot. I think 3 crits are going to get down the tree, which is exactly what we want. Going down the bottom, we're going to get a total of 2 damage, 2 shoves, and 4 heals, bringing Zeb up to full. Because Hera is going to heal on the first step, she's going to then not follow up the first shove, and then in that third box, she's able to resolve the heals before she resolves the shove. So that gets Zeb back up to full. She follows up that second shove, brings her in range of the objective, flips it, and that is a really good turn there. The Death Trooper escort is going to spend 1 on Disciplined, which is his reactive reposition. And I'm just trying to get central here. I know that this struggle's probably over, and just kind of setting up for the next struggle, because, yeah, we just messed up with how we approached Ezra with the reckless gambit there, unfortunately. Hera was really able to punish us for that mistake there. So Callus is still not going to help us all that much right now, I don't think. He could go and take 1 objective, but we would still lose the struggle doing that. So we're going to just take a little bit of a chance, maybe get a Thrawn card, but instead we get Grand Inquisitor. So with just him activating, we're not going to be able to flip enough objectives. It's just a matter of setup, I think. We're going to try to just put a bunch of conditions on Ezra, maybe even get a wound, perhaps. And this time, this is when I realized the mistake I'd made the first time, because I am thinking about Enfeeble and bringing 5th Brother in. So we will get an Expose on Ezra, and we'll see how much damage we can do. The first action is going to be a punch on Ezra, and the result's not too bad, especially helpful that Ezra is exposed, but all we're going to do is 5 damage, pin, and strain, thanks to that extra damage from our expertise. And then we're going to move back with our second action to just body block. So we don't flip an objective, and we don't kill Ezra, but he is kind of neutralized with that pin and strain and 5 damage. And Spectres not being able to really move Ezra around does hurt them. Now we get Sabine, so we're just going to set things up pretty well, I think, with a little dashy-do for Mr. Zeb, getting up the ladder, getting in position on that back objective. And then Sabine herself is going to take an advance up the same ladder, and then when she finishes her move, she's got some good old Spectre buddies, so she will get a focus. And then I've got to decide who I want to shoot. I think I'd like to get after those ISF, so we're going to pay 1. We're not going to do the whole bomb thing, because that'll just hurt our own guys, and we do get range 4 just barely. That's a really bad roll, though. Just 1 crit getting down the tree. That was a lot of fails for Sabine. 2 damage. I mean, it's something. They're going to be easier to kill with 2 damage than with none, but that's a really unfortunate roll. I was hoping to get at least 1 shove to bring her closer to that middle objective, though she is in contesting range, and that objective is pretty likely to come up, as we're going to transition now into the second struggle thanks to a Rebel victory. The card is We Need More Time. I like to call it the Wiggle. And I ultimately decided to go with the right side objectives for the Empire. So that's 5th Brother and Zeb. The center has to be active. Just because, I don't know, the mosh pit didn't seem super appealing. I still have 5th Brother left to go as well, who can help shore up that side. He's a bit more durable. I just felt like they were a little bit more secure, a little bit easier to attack as well on the Rebel side, because Chopper is going to be a little tough to take that objective away from him on the top left. Whatever we choose, the Rebels do have Chopper and Zeb coming up as their last 2 cards in the deck, which is good for the Empire because they're not the most dynamic activations, I would say. And this is a good time to go with Callus, because we're going to see here, he can just knock Sabine off the middle point and then, score 2 points. It frees up a reserve slot as well, which you like to do with Thrawn. So his tactic is going to dash him forward. First action, move, touch that middle objective, and try to get just 1 shove through on Sabine. She gets a lot of blocks at least. She can't shoot, but she is defending well. We're going to get just a expertise shove on Mr. Callus here, knocking Sabine away. So there, if she'd been able to get a shove on her attack, he would not have taken control of that objective with just one shove. But she didn't, and he does. So it's going to be 2 objectives and 3 points for the Empire, and then just 1 objective taken for the Rebels. That's a solid start to a new struggle. That's what you're looking for. As the double is going to be active again. And I'm going to get a little bit greedy here with the Rebels, going with Zeb, trying to hold Chopper to maybe do like a play with his little reposition thing, if he can maybe come in and get the kill next turn. So we're going to go with Zeb, and we're going to start by punching Callus with our full attack. And that's not a bad roll. 3 crits down the tree is going to get us 4 damage, pin, and shove. Zeb, unfortunately, is not very good at double shoving, but the saving grace there is that we can spend 1 force and do a second attack. This one is only going to be 5 dice, and unfortunately, Callus with 5 expertise perfectly counters what we get with Zeb. Nothing gets through, no objective flipped, just 1 point for the Rebels. So got a little greedy, and it didn't pay off. The double comes up pretty good for the Empire. It's with Fifth Brother. Hopefully we don't draw him. We get the other Thrawn card. So we could either get a boosted attack, or we could move someone with a reposition. And I think the reposition is going to give us a lot of value here, because after I drew that, I saw this play that is pretty sneaky. I really like it, with the Death Trooper coming around the back, getting inside one of that ingress point, and going to steal the back objective. So before we even activate a unit, because of the Thrawn card, we are going to get that back objective flipped. And then it's going to be the ISF. And of course, by ISF, I mean ISB. Too many IS organizations for the Imperials. I was thinking about getting greedy and like going to the side, setting up for the next struggle. But as the loser of struggle 1, I don't think I can actually afford to act like I've won struggle 2 just yet. So we're going to just send them to the middle. Again, with all the movement this list has, having more bodies in the middle that can potentially move anywhere is pretty strong. So we're going to start with a punch into Zeb. Not all that great. We're going to get 1 crit through with an expertise shove. So 2 damage, 1 shove. I mean, it's not terrible. Though, unfortunately, our second angle is not that great. A really good roll, though. 3 down the tree. Because that shove's not going to do much, we're going to do 3 damage and a pin. As we said, we're going to flip that objective, score 4, and things have gone downhill fast because we didn't go with Chopper last turn. I probably should have just moved him up and tried to knock Callus away with Chopper. The double is going to be the point that Zeb gave away, and now we have to go with Chopper. But he will be unshootable after we shuffle our deck. So I think I just need to kind of get the situation a bit better in the middle in case that comes up next. Or maybe not, because maybe I have a better shot at taking this back objective. I want to get another body up here, so we paid 1 to jump, and then we're going to move. So my thinking is if I can get 2 shoves, I can knock that Death Trooper escort back down the ladder and maybe body block. But again, Chopper has a lot of blanks. Just 2 getting through, thanks to also kind of a bad roll in the Death Trooper, but only 1 shove. Yikes. So the Rebels just can't attack very well right now. Sabine, tons of fails. Chopper, tons of fails, unfortunately. So again, no flipped objective, 0 points for the Rebels. This is going to be a fast struggle as the Imperials get Fifth Brother. Now, the edges do come up quite often in Struggle 3, so I think that's a really good spot for him to go and attack. Starting with a full advance, then we're going to pay 1 to jump, and then just toss a melee dice into Hera, see what kind of damage we can do, and try to start the next round in a good position if this point does come up. Not bad. That's going to be 4 down the tree for Fifth Brother. Rerolling 1 because we can, but it's a fail into a fail. We had nothing else to do with that force. So 4 damage, expose, strain, and a free force repulse. So we're going to pass up the shove to do a force repulse because we don't want to shove her out of range. And then Sabine also gets repulsed away, and they should both kind of be in a no man's land. Yeah, Sabine not contesting anything really right now, so that's really good. Great job by Fifth Brother, setting us up well. That's quick struggle too, as the Empire is now level 1-1 as we get to the hangar bay, the straight line across the middle, and a free dash on the Shatterpoint. You know, sometimes as the winner of Struggle 1, you do kind of want to call it early in Struggle 2 and just set yourself up for Struggle 3. But on Sabotage, you don't see that too often, I would say, because you have no choice in the layout for Struggle 3. So you kind of want to take advantage of that second struggle, but they couldn't with the Rebels. Now, Hera is interesting here for the Rebels. She could take that double maybe, but I think she's going to have more impact later. So we spend one reserve, and getting Kanan is perfect right here, I think, because he will use his tactic to dash Chopper. So this is why we kind of move Chopper up. Gives him a chance to have another body up in that hard-to-reach area. Kanan himself will get a dash as well, because, of course, Chopper's a Spectre, so he's going to stay out of engagement range with the ISB, and then take a shot, hopefully getting the wound on them to take two bodies out at once. So yeah, we did that well, and that is a good shot from Kanan. They're not great at defending at range. He's going to run his tree with 5 successes. We don't need the extra shove, so it's going to be a total of 8 damage with a pin. He will follow up the shove. He also gets a reposition, so he'll put himself in range 2 of Hera. And then using triple heals, he will heal the pin on Zeb, then 1 damage and a expose off Hera. Then he'll spend 2 force for force push on 5th Brother. So that's a nice way to get around Steadfast with our diceless displacement. We have used half of our force reserve on the first turn, but this is going to set us up well, I think, so it's worth it. He does still have an action as well, so he's going to come back to the middle. It is really nice that we got the reposition there, because that opens up an action that would have been getting range on 5th Brother to instead just kind of come this way. And I'm trying to cheat kind of towards the right, maybe open up an alley so I can go get that other objective on a revenge trigger jump or something like that. So that's going to be 2 rebel objectives for 3 points to start out the struggle. Again, a fine start to a struggle, getting 3 points, and the double is up with Chopper. Fresh deck, the Imperials get Thrawn, and we're just going to reserve him here, giving him that reposition to take that left objective. So now whoever we actually activate will be able to do something else for us. And the Death Trooper escort is perfect, because we just want to come and shove Chopper away. That would be really handy for us. Now, we can't shoot him, so we are going to have to get an angle to punch. Now, 5th Brother should not have gotten a full reposition here. He doesn't have damage. It should have just been a dash, so a little bit of a cheat. I got a bit excited. And the Death Trooper escort is going to pay 1 to dash and focus, which will trigger his strain, taking 3 damage. But then we're going to be able to punch Chopper with 8 dice. Not a great roll, but it will be serviceable. We get the shove, which is really what we want. And Chopper's immune to disarm. We got an extra damage from expertise. He has protection, so he's just going to take 2 damage and that shove. We have 1 extra action left. We're engaged with Hera, but so that turns into a dash as we move onto the objective and flip it for the Imperials. So they're going to score 3 for themselves. Not a bad turn at all. However, both sides are going to get momentum. We want to break that 3-3 cycle at some point. As the Empire, at least, the Rebels are fine with that. And given where that double is, I think it's Hera time. She's going to use her tactic to tell Sabine to advance, and Sabine can turn that into a jump, which is quite handy with these tough-to-access objectives. So whatever happens, we are going to outbody this Death Trooper 2-1 and take the point. But let's see what Hera can do with some good old fisticuffs. First action, move. Second action, punch the Death Trooper. They both roll pretty bad, but 3 down the tree isn't terrible. 3 damage, pin, shove, and a total of 4 heals, which is going to heal Hera and heal Chopper. Both are in a lot better shape now, feeling good. 2 bodies on the double. That's going to be a hard one for the Empire to retake as the Rebels score 3 more points. And as I say, if they just go 3-3-3-3, Rebels are really happy with that as long as that continues. Now that is a good roll for the rebels as far as where the double is, because the Empire is going to have a tough time taking it, at least without a Thrawn card. Thrawn himself, I don't think is doing a whole lot here, so we'll keep him in reserve, and we get Callus instead. So he's just going to use his tactic, remove the pin, punch Zeb, and he gets 2 down his tree, which will be 2 damage, 2 shoves. Now Zeb is going to get those 3 expertise to heal back 2 damage. So that's something. Callus puts himself in a better position, but he's not going to flip the objective. He was honestly a really bad pull here because, as I say, not flipping an objective, not even scoring the doubles, just a measly 1 point and a momentum for the Empire. The saving grace is maybe now they can farm momentum with the tracker on the Rebel side. The double stays with the Rebels, and they get Chopper. So first action, attack the Death Trooper. Again, a bad roll from Chopper, but it's going to be just enough. 2 down the tree is 3 damage, down to 2 for the wound. Okay guys, real talk now. Adding these overlays is kind of the final step of making these videos, and it wasn't until I was doing this that I realized I missed putting out 1 momentum cube during this game. I think when Kanan wounded the ISB. So really, at the end of this turn, Chopper should have won it for the Rebels, but I thought they had 1 less momentum. So since the rest of the video is already basically made and voiced over, we're just going to take off 1 momentum and pretend like that's how it is and never mention this again because, as I say, everything's recorded. So sorry about that, but now you get some bonus video. Enjoy. And I messed up here, I think, in retrospect, just watching it back. I used Chopper's reactive to tell Sabine to get to the middle, thinking, oh, she'll activate and then good to have her more central. And then Chopper climbed up. I think he should have used it on himself, because with that reposition, then another advance, and then a jump, I think he could have taken the Thrawn objective, scored 4 for the Rebels, and really sealed it. But I didn't do that, and it's just going to be 3 for the Rebels, which is still good, but scoring 4 would have been really nice there. The Empire getting a Shatterpoint there is kind of spicy. Now, they don't really have anyone who could really take that right side objective. My first thought was maybe go with Death Trooper Escort, because he could get a body up there and advance 5th Brother, which again, I don't think should have been a full advance, but I don't think 5th Brother can quite get there. So, yeah, my next thought is ISB. Get a couple bodies back on the middle, shove some people away, and then really solidify that center. So we'll do that. They get a Shatterpoint dash, which is kind of handy. Opens up the angle a little bit, and then just focus and punch. So going into Sabine, not a bad roll. That's going to be 3 down the tree. We'll take 3 damage down to 2 and the shove. And then I was actually going to punch again, trying to pin her and mess up her turn. We're going to get 2 down the tree, which gets us that pin with 2 damage down to 1, and another shove from expertise. So we're really kind of pinning Sabine, getting her out of position, making it harder for her to attack that far objective, or even attack the center. Maybe I should have attacked Kanan, but I wasn't going to be able to shove and pin him, most likely. I mean, that last roll could have, but it would have been kind of a lucky one. So 3-1 for the Empire on the middle. That will be handy for them. But the Rebels get a Shatterpoint of their own. So Kanan's going to dash Zeb back, get his own dash. I'm going to flip stances, focus, and attack Callus. If I can get the kill here, I can spend 2, force push an ISB away, and win the game. Usually I regret going into the melee stance, and unfortunately this time is no different. Just 2 down the tree. We needed 3. So 4 damage, disarm. I mean, we get a jump, sure, to position a little bit, but we needed that 3rd slot down the tree, and we don't flip that middle objective. Just 1 point for the Rebels. We got maybe a little greedy. I ran the numbers after the game, and it was about a 62-ish% chance, I think, for Kanan there, accounting for
Callus rerolls, which I kind of forgot about at the time, that if he needed it, he really could. Once again, we're looking at Thrawn, and I think this is the time to go with him because we kind of have an opening where, it's not great, but I was thinking I just want to get him out of reserve because having the reserve slot open helps our plays a lot. We pay 1 force to advance and get 3 dice, and then I decided to punch Kanan, and that is a punch. 10 dice, not a single fail. It's going to be a full tree for Thrawn, 7 damage, shove, strain, reposition, expose. Unfortunately, Kanan's still contesting, so what did we really accomplish there? We didn't really shift bodies around. Sure, it's nice to have Kanan on the brink of being wounded, but I think I kind of messed up with that turn. Thrawn's second action, he'll just heal 1, but I probably should have stayed in the other stance and gone for a double shove, or maybe gone after Zeb. My thinking was he'll activate and move again, and here we get Sabine. So she's going to tell Ezra to dash and remove his pin. That helps him on his turn. Spending 1 damage, that's going to hit Callus for the wound, and then also Kanan and Zeb as well, unfortunately, and the new ISB agents. It also removes the pin on Sabine herself as she tries to jump, so that's good. Moving to just outside range of the ISB, getting her focus. She's going to unleash a pistol shot. 4 more blanks, Sabine, but she does get 3 down the tree. 4 damage, double shove. By the time the 2 shoves occur and the damage is applied, they will not be engaged anymore, which will negate the protection they would get from Thrawn. So that's good. 5 damage, not too bad when you consider her whole turn, but would have been nice to get the kill there. The Rebels do flip that and score 3 as well, though. So things are back on track for them, I would say. Again, everyone's fighting over that middle. It is the double. Free slot for reserve. We get Grand Inquisitor on the Imperials. Now, because Callus is wounded, it's 3-1 on the middle. Grand Inquisitor could tie it, but he can't flip it. And if he can't flip it, that's bad news. So we're going to pay 1, I think, to reserve and reposition Grand Inquisitor onto the middle, giving us a body. So whoever we draw next is going to appreciate that. And it is a Thrawn card, so that's good. We are definitely going to take the reposition bottom effect there to try and bring 5th Brother over. We'll see now if that full advance was enough. I wasn't thinking it would be, and it's kind of close. We got to take the ISB agent off and get a really good top-down view, and he was just barely short, so closer than I thought it would be, honestly. And I wish I could take Grand Inquisitor out of reserve for another move, but we have to take a new card, though we do get the Thrawn card. So I'm going to go with the top ability, Reckless Gambit, the shove, because that's going to let us activate Grand Inquisitor again and get another body off of that middle, take a big lead. So here we go with Grand Inquisitor. He's going to... I'm doing this in the wrong order, but really he should dash and then 5th Brother dashes. But whatever. It is what it is. He's going to attack Sabine with Enfeeble, so she gets no blocks. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm in a good position to actually wound her because of Kanan, so I'm going to stop a little short on the tree. 5 damage down to 4, but we do get that double shove, a pin, and a disarm. So that's pretty effective. And then we are going to use Reckless Gambit on Kanan because he has activated twice already thanks to the Shatterpoint. So the only way he's moving is with a wound. Once again, Grand Inquisitor is going to take those 3 damage. I wish Callus was in range because you can choose a wounded person if you want to kind of get around the damage there. And now the Imperials have a healthy 3-1 lead on the middle with a tiebreaker body. Now, they are going to give both sides a momentum by going to the middle spot with the struggle tracker. So it is still going to be a little tough. They're going to have to get some luck here. And the double is on the Thrawn objective, which is a little bit vulnerable. and the rebels get Zeb. And I think he has a path to maybe take this objective here without even needing to roll dice. Again, I probably should have climbed with Thrawn on his turn. So Zeb, first action, he's just going to dash. He's going to pay 1 for his tactic, taking 2 damage from the ISB. Now, I should have climbed earlier with Thrawn instead of healing. That was a bad move, but I think Zeb probably could still get the kill in a shove, so maybe it all comes out in the wash. What we know for sure is that here he scores 3 and wins it for the Rebels. So, kind of came down to the wire. There was lots of momentum there on the momentum tracker right at the end. But I think my decision making maybe at the end there on both sides was just not quite up to par with what I want to be putting on film. But end of a long day, I'll use that excuse. Thinking about the rewind and looking at the whole game, mistakes made on the Imperial side. I think clearly there were a couple early in Struggle 1 that really snowballed. So the first one was the kill on Ezra, not using Enfeeble to get the kill. And I'm not sure how much that really affected things. Kanan still could have done his aggressive move later, even without the jump, I think. And the damage on Thrawn didn't matter so much, though I think he might have been in a better position at the end to climb up there instead of heal with his second action. So that was a thing. And then just the body block with Callus as well, which meant Ezra stayed contesting on that objective, and Rebels had that tiebreaker. So a couple bad mistakes early, and then of course, that Thrawn activation in the last struggle was a bit of a head scratcher in retrospect, because even at the time, after I kind of finished Thrawn's attack, I looked at it and I was like, wait a second, what did I really accomplish there? So not great. As far as the Rebels go, I think the move in Struggle 2 with Zeb was a little too greedy and should have just gone with Chopper there. But not the worst move. I think maybe it was a blunder. I would say it is a blunder with what Kanan did, trying to get the kill on Callus there. Again, 62%-ish in the dice simulator. That's not terrible odds to outright win the game, but it did leave the Rebels in a pretty bad spot if he failed. So I think it might have been better to just, move back, take a shot, and use your movement to go take the Thrawn objective instead of going all or nothing in the win, because getting 1 point there kind of put them in a bad spot, and they were bailed out by a lackluster Thrawn activation. Then, of course, the last thing would have been the Chopper turn when he kind of shuffled Sabine around and stayed with Hera. If he had just left Sabine where she was and made a beeline for that far objective, I think everything would have been a little bit easier there. I think he could have gotten to that objective, and again, scoring 4 for the Rebels would have been really good. Because I wasn't threatening that Thrawn objective until the very end with Zeb, and that just allowed the Imperials to farm free points for the whole struggle. Now, on the Rebel side, they were able to kind of farm free objectives eventually with the Hera objective in that third struggle, because they had 2 bodies up there, and because of the ingress and whatnot, it was just very difficult for the Empire to have any way to flip it. And Hera is actually going to be our MVP for this game. I think she had some really impactful activations at the start of the game, the way she was moving Ezra around, bringing him back from the dead, and then moving Kanan. She really put pressure on that side of the board, even when she was on a whole different side of the board. And her back-to-back activations really helped solidify that first struggle win for the Rebellion. And then, as I said, once she was really able to get a stranglehold on that side objective in the third struggle, that was a big help for the Rebellion as well. So she did a lot. I think she's well deserving of an MVP here. Then before we go, I do want to follow up on a promise I did at the start, which was, how would I tweak these lists if maybe I was going to a event and I was trying to really win some games. I think if I'm playing these a bit more competitively on the Rebel side, I would take Zeb out and put in the Rebel Commandos. They just have a really good shot, and they can do it twice with all their dice for free because they're a normal support and not a weird one-body support. And they have 2 bodies, so they bring a lot. They still combo well with Hera. They start upfield, so they can be a good target for dashes from Hera or Sabine, and they like the extra cover from Hera. So I think they work really good in that Zeb slot. And then the small tweak I would make for the Imperial side is taking out Callus. As I said, I think he's a better rebel. We didn't really use his rerolls all that much. I mean, if we had really needed them, that might have been helpful. But I don't think, especially in a 5-force list, that it's bringing all that much value. Versus if we send the Death Trooper escort into Thrawn's squad, suddenly we have all sorts of options with Grand Inquisitor. I like to take Django there because it brings in Capture Wire, which is a really good ability, and it brings not so fast. Django's just a very good unit, and the era's work that he can go into an Empire list via Grand Inquisitor. So that's what I would do on the Imperial side to make it a bit more of a competitive list. And I'm actually going to run that exact list in an upcoming bonus battle. So keep an eye out for that. Anyway, I had a fun time making this one, and hopefully you enjoyed the game as well, despite my relative derpiness at the end of the game. I think it was a really good thematic matchup, which is always fun to see on the table. So have a good one, and keep an eye out for more Bombad Tactics in the future.